I'll move on to the GraphQL API protocol. So GraphQL is a language that is used for querying data, and it enables developers to construct their requests to pull data from multiple sources in a single API call. And the requests that are made using GraphQL can be made with two types of operations. So we have the queries, which are used to fetch data. And these are synonymous to the REST GET requests that we talked about earlier, which are used to retrieve information about a specific resource from a server database. And then we also have the mutations, which are used to invoke a change. And so this could be updates or creations. And so these are synonymous to the REST post, put, and delete requests. I will be going through how to use Armagene's GraphQL API in the next few slides, and so I will just briefly go over what Armagene is. So Armagene is a web server application that was created in our lab that provides access to hundreds of thousands of human and mouse gene sets, which were extracted from the supporting materials of publications that are listed in PubMed Central. And so the gene sets that are extracted in Armagene are served for an enrichment analysis, free text, and table title search. You can find the link for the web app here on the slide. But the site uses a GraphQL API to support its UI, and this API can be accessed programmatically at this endpoint that I've also linked in the slides. Here we see what the Armagene PostGraphQL ID, which you can access at the given link, looks like. And so a PostGraphQL ID is useful for constructing and testing GraphQL queries. In the leftmost section, you can select what queries or mutations you would like to perform, and what data you would like to be returned returned in each operations. And so all the options that you see in the leftmost sections are the different operations that can be performed with this particular API. And so the queries that you have selected will then show up in the middle. And this is an auto-generated, it'll give you an auto-generated query, which you can manually edit or use to specify your input into this query. After clicking on the run button that you can find at the top, and your request has been sent, the result or response, i.e. your retrieved data, or the message that tells you why the server was not able to retrieve our data, is then going to show up in the rightmost section, which I've highlighted over there. And so here I will just run through a simple GraphQL query to show you how to use the interface. And all gene sets served by Armagene are saved in a database, so we can use the gene set term search query to fetch all the gene sets from the database that are related to a specific term. As you can see, I've highlighted that in red right over here. And so this would return all the gene sets in Armagene that contain a given term in the column name of the supplementary table of the paper where the gene set was extracted from. So here we see this after we've clicked on that specific query option, the gene set term search. We will then kind of select the structure of the output that we want. And so here I've selected that for each gene set that we want returned, I want to get the description of that gene set, its ID, and the number of genes that it contains. So I've selected I've ticked the description option. I've also ticked ID and gene IDs. I can also then specify what term I want to use to search. And here the required input parameters are always specified with an asterisk, and so I've put diabetes in that option. In the middle, we can see that what that auto-generated query would look like over here. After we run this query, we see that we can get the data that we have requested in the exact structure that we selected based on our query. So if you look here, we see that in data, under get gene set term search, we're able to define for each of the gene sets that we get back its ID, it's the description of the table where it was retrieved from, and the number of genes that that gene set contains. I will now go through an example of like how to perform a mutation operation request. And so the users of Immergene can submit their gene set for enrichment to find matching gene sets that from the Immergene database, ranked by the overlap with the input gene set. And so this is simply like an enrichment analysis of using all the gene sets that the Immergene serves as the gene sets to enrich against. And so the add user gene set mutation operation is used for this enrichment analysis process by adding the user gene set to the Immergene database, so we use this to then get the gene set ID. So here under this the Explorer, we can then click on the add user gene set option, and after opening that collapse option, we can then select what inputs we would like to send with this request. So I have selected genes, and I've also placed in the gene set that we would like to add to the Immergene database. After which I can then select what data I would want returned after this request. So the way this works is that after I send the request, the server can then send me back a response. And I'm selecting that with this response, I want to get information about what time this gene set was created, the genes, and the ID. This can just be used to double check that what was added on that what was added in the database is exactly in the format that I wanted it to be. And so we see here that we also get again our auto-generated mutation operation here. And after we ran it, we see that we also get the ID and the genes and the created fields, just like I specified when I was sending in this mutation operation. So one of the major advantages that I highlighted of using GraphQL is that it's able to pull information from multiple sources in the same API call. So we see here in this query structure that we're getting information about the APOE gene, like we're getting its ID, its summary, and its gene symbol. We're also getting all the PMC articles that have been scanned by Immergene, and using again the gene set term search query to get all the gene sets that are related to the term diabetes. After sending in this query, we see that the response that we get is just a single response that contains all the information that we requested when we were sending this query. Here, so we can see that we're able to get the gene information, the number of articles that have been scanned, and also all of those gene sets that are related to the term diabetes.